Shoegaze. Getting lost in a wall of sound. Imagine a dark venue in the mid-80s. The lights are soft and the amps are humming. Then, just like honey begins, a simple drum beat, a guitar floating like a haze around the vocal, everything covered in echo. Shoegaze does not start with a clear date, scene, or rule book. It begins with a feeling. Bands coming from post-punk, noise, and dream pop become more focused on texture, sound, and layers. Kevin Shields of My Bloody Valentine later said, "We were not trying to sound loud. We were trying to sound blurred." That line explains perfectly how shoegaze was born, not as a movement on paper, but as a feeling inside the sound. At the end of the 80s, that sound moves into small venues in London, Reading, and Oxford. Bands like Ride, Slowdive, Lush, Chapter House, and Moose play with their heads down, not because they are shy, but because their pedals control the whole sound. The British press makes a joke about it and calls it shoegazing. To their own surprise, the name sticks and becomes the label for a whole new movement.
The typical shoegaze sound. Shoegaze is known for a big, dreamy wall of guitar sound with soft melodies hidden behind it. The vocals often sound almost genderless and blend into the instruments because the guitars and effects are louder than the voice. The instruments are processed so heavily that they sometimes do not sound like themselves anymore. The lyrics, when you can make them out, often talk about love, intimacy, and colorful, dreamlike images, sometimes with a hint of drug romance. Many shoegaze bands have both men and women in important roles, in vocals as well as instruments. The style is built on balance and blending, not on one clear frontman or frontwoman.
No shoegaze shelf in the record store. Shoegaze has never been a strict, boxed-in genre. You almost never find it as its own category in a record store. The records usually sit somewhere between alternative, indie, or britpop. The Stone Roses sometimes get close to it. The Cure sometimes touches the sound. Cocteau Twins and the Jesus and Mary Chain are two major inspirations for the first true shoegaze bands. Both bands come from Scotland, and together they shape a huge part of the sound that later becomes shoegaze. Cocteau Twins create a dreamy and floating world built on misty guitars and voices hidden deep in the mix, on albums like Head Over Heels from 1983 and Treasure from 1984. The guitar stops sounding like a normal instrument and becomes a soft, glowing cloud. Elizabeth Fraser from Cocteau Twins does not always sing clear words, but emotional sounds and syllables. Her voice becomes another instrument, drifting inside layers of reverb instead of standing above the music. Many future shoegaze bands hear this and realize they can treat vocals and guitars as one single texture. That idea becomes one of the main building blocks of the shoegaze sound. The Jesus and Mary Chain bring a different but equally important energy. On Psycho Candy from 1985, they use sharp feedback and noise on top of very simple pop melodies, almost like 60s girl group songs wrapped in distortion. Their music shows that noise can be sweet and violent at the same time. Jim Reed once said, the goal was to make something beautiful out of something loud. And that feeling becomes a key influence on shoegaze bands. Compared to Cocteau Twins, the Jesus and Mary Chain sound much harsher and more abrasive, but the songs underneath are just as melodic. If you place Cocteau Twins and the Jesus and Mary Chain on top of each other in your mind, you almost get the full shoegaze sound. Haze, melody, and noise sitting together in one thick, emotional wave. People inside the scene including the people at Creation Records, later say that My Bloody Valentine changed their direction after hearing the Jesus and Mary chain. The band saw Cocteau Twins and the Jesus and Mary chain not only as influences, but as a starting point they could push much further. The borders of shoegaze are soft and flexible. It is more a way of sounding than a strict definition. Ask 10 fans what shoegaze is, and you will get 10 different answers. The genre stays open and fluid, and that fits the music perfectly. It is a style that prefers the background and slowly fills the space from there.
I wanna take the breath that
Core bands of shoegaze. My Bloody Valentine gave the movement a beating heart with Loveless. That album does not feel like separate songs, but like one long piece of sound. Kevin Shields said, "I never wanted the guitar to sound like a guitar." He was searching for color and texture instead of riffs. Slowdive brings something different. Slow drums, soft vocals, and wide chords that move over you like a wave. Rachel Goswell said, "We wanted to make music you could fall into. Music you step inside, not something you watch from the outside. Ride adds more speed and energy without losing the dreamy character. The guitars stay wide, the rhythms get tighter, and it feels like driving through early morning fog. Lush makes the sound brighter and more colorful, with more melody and harmonies. Their songs sometimes almost feel like pop, but still float inside that dreamlike mist. And without Cocteau Twins and the Jesus and Mary chain, shoegaze would never have sounded the way it does. Their influence shapes the whole atmosphere of the genre."
Brian Eno and Souvlaki. Around the time Slowdive worked on their album Souvlaki, the band asks Brian Eno to produce the record, and at first he is interested. In the end, it does not happen. He does not produce the album, but he still appears in the credits and plays on a few tracks, adding ambient layers and extra texture. Neil Halstead said, "He did not produce Souvlaki, but the moments he played on it changed the record forever." It shows how important sound architects like Eno are for the mood of shoegaze.
Britpop and the backlash. Even with all its creativity, shoegaze never becomes a big commercial force. In the 90s, Britpop takes over with Oasis, Blur, and Pulp, with clear songs and bright choruses. Compared to that, shoegaze sounds introverted and less easy to grab. The press turns away, labels lose interest, and some bands fade out of sight or change direction. Rachel Goswell later said, "One month we were loved. The next month, we did not exist." For many bands, it felt like the world suddenly moved on from soft, wandering music. But the genre does not truly disappear. It simply moves into the shadows.
While mainstream music goes in other directions, shoegaze stays alive in record collections, on old cassettes, and later online. Fans discover it through blogs, forums, and hidden playlists. For a new generation, shoegaze does not feel like old history, but like something new. Because it is not everywhere, it feels like a secret you uncover for yourself. That is where the revival begins. Not with a big statement, but with people rediscovering that drifting sound.
In the 2000s, a new wave of artists is inspired by the original shoegazers. They do not copy them, but take the core idea. Atmosphere over technique, texture over structure. M83 makes it cinematic and huge, with guitars and synths filling giant spaces. DIIV connects the shoegaze feeling to tighter rhythms and a modern indie sound. Beach Fossils use similar textures, but with a sunnier, lighter mood. Wild Nothing adds warm synth layers and melodies that feel like half-remembered memories. Jack Tatum of Wild Nothing said, I wanted everything to feel hazy but still emotional.
In the new wave, you hear shoegaze influences everywhere. In indie pop, electronic music, soundtracks, and bedroom productions. It is no longer only guitar music, but a way of thinking about space, mood, and layers. Yet the core rules stay the same. Shoegaze is music where no single element tries to lead. The vocals do not push forward. The guitar does not try to be virtuosic, but becomes a soft layer inside the whole. The songs are often romantic or dreamy, but they do not shout. They whisper. Many artists say they want to create music where the listener can drift in their own thoughts.
As the world gets faster, shoegaze slows things down and invites real listening. Many young artists say shoegaze gives them something other styles do not: space. Maybe that is why it still lives today.
Whether you hear Just Like Honey, discover Loveless, or arrive at modern bands like Wild Nothing or DIIV, the feeling stays the same. You step into a sound that does not try to dominate you, but lets you breathe. A place where melody, noise, and emotion come together. That is the world of shoegaze. Always soft, always close, and always ready to let you disappear for a moment. Thank you for watching. We are the Boys Next Door. We talk music.
Like and subscribe for more top 10s and other music videos.